Hello everybody and welcome to another video. We made it. We did it. We're only days away from the end of 2020. And now this is a period of reflection for me because I began my journey in 2020. And yes, it's been a crazy year. We're going to go over some highlights in a second here. But it is also the year that I started this adventure with you. And if you are still here with me, seeing me through until the end of the year, that is amazing. So thank you for being here with me through it all. Now, I do want to highlight some of the crazy things that did happen in 2020 because I think with everything that happened, we forgot a lot. I don't think anybody is unaware of the global pandemic that we're in that has shaped and changed all of our lives. And with that, you probably remember the toilet paper shortage. And you might also remember the wildfires in Australia. And also the wildfires in California. You might remember that Kanye West ran for president of the United States. Oh yeah, and those murder hornets, where did they go? And then there was that weird period where everything was cake. Why? I don't know. And one of the funniest things for me is that Carol Baskin, if you remember her, she was a contestant on Dancing with the Stars. 2020 has been so crazy that the Pentagon released UFO footage. Real evidence of aliens. No one even took a second glance. 2020 has been so crazy that even aliens didn't faze us. And I know that many people have hope for 2021 and that right when midnight strikes, we're going to move into a different era, into a different year that will change and better everything. But will anything really change? People often promise on New Year's to act differently or to aspire to be better in the next calendar year. And the anthem of New Year's Eve is New Year, New Me. But can people really change? So today in this video, we're gonna see what science says. Can people change? Do people change? If there is a new year, will there be a new you? And now I want you to stop the video right here and I want you to comment below whether or not you think people can change. I know it's a debated topic. Let me know what you think below and then continue on to see what science says. Okay, so now that you've taken that minute to comment below, thank you for that. I think we can get started and get right into the video. Today, I really want to talk about personality, and I think this is key to this discussion of whether or not people can change, because what we're really asking is whether or not a person's personality can change. Just to define personality so we all get a good grasp at what we're talking about. Personality is defined as the various traits or characteristics that make a person who they are, and the general conclusion is that personality is stable over time. It's important to note that no one argues that people change over a long period of time. Nobody's saying that you're the same person you were when you were 2. And because of that, we're not talking about the big and long-term changes that just occur naturally due to development. Instead, in this video, we're talking about whether or not people can intentionally change their behavior because they are uncomfortable or not happy with the way they are today. So we're talking about short-term, intentional changes. And specifically to short term, I want to talk about in a period of a year. So if on December 31st of 2020, I decide that I do not like this part of myself and I would like to change that thought, that behavior, that action, can I change who I am or change that behavior, that thought, that habit within the duration of a year so that by December 31st, 2021, I will like that part of myself? So can 2021 possibly bring out a new and possibly improved version of ourselves? That is what we're going to be talking about today, and specifically the research points to yes, but it is not as easy as it sounds and it is much more complex than a simple yes, no answer. Okay, so I want to get deep into the research today. There are some things that researchers say cannot change, and these are things that we have no control over as people, as individuals, as humans, and that no amount of effort or time that you put in could actually go about to change these things about you, and that is your genetic predispositions. If you have a genetic predisposition to develop a certain cancer down the road or to develop a certain mental disorder, those things cannot change. Those are your genes. Number two, you can't change your childhood environment. Unless you're still a child in that environment, then perhaps you could change it in some way, but you cannot go back into the past and change how you grew up. And similar to this, you can't change the life experiences you've already had. And a lot of times, it's our life experiences that really lead us to certain outcomes. So you cannot go back to the past and you cannot change your genetics. But there are some things research says that you can change. Specifically, there's evidence that from age 20 to age 40, you're going to go through the most personality changes that you will in your lifetime. So if you're within those age gaps here, this video is especially important for you. And this is because this is the point of your life where you can self-explore. You might be moved out of your home, you might be going to school or starting to work, really starting to explore the real world, and you have more control over your environment this way. This promotes self-directed change and gives you the opportunity for intentional change. There are a few areas that are most susceptible to change, and those are habits and behaviors, attitudes and outlooks on life, so going from a pessimistic outlook to a more optimistic outlook, or physical and verbal responses to other people, to your own behaviors, or anything along those lines. And though these areas can be changed, they won't be unless the person is very motivated to make those changes. And so if you are the person trying to change something going into the next year, I urge you to do this. Write down all of the reasons why you want to change. Maybe you want to become a better friend in 2021. So what you need to do is take out a piece of paper and just write down all of the reasons why this would increase your quality of life, increase the quality of life of your friends. Maybe it leads you to a more happy, well-balanced lifestyle. Just every single reason that you can think of why you should become a better friend in 2021. And then when you're feeling discouraged, go look at that list. It'll help motivate you to get back on it, to really stick with this change that you do want to make in yourself. And now if you're watching this video because you are hoping that somebody will change or you're helping somebody change, first make sure that they're actually the ones motivated to change as well. None of this will happen if they don't want to change, but it's very good that you're supporting them. Now, how you can support them even further is through doing some of these things. You can ask them about their progress. This can be very helpful in just getting somebody accountable for the change that they themselves want to make. You can also praise them for their attempts. This is really good positive feedback for somebody and really can encourage them to move forward. And you can also join them in the positive change if this is applicable. Having somebody that's struggling in a similar way or is having similar obstacles in obtaining some goal can be really helpful for that person. So if you want to support someone and you are able to, join them in their positive change. And now finally, I do want to mention therapy. And I know if you've watched a lot of my other videos, I do talk about therapy a lot. And specific to this video, it is really key if you are wanting to make long-lasting changes. I say this because the research I've been looking at is looking at participants in various intervention programs or various just treatment programs overall, and seeing whether or not they can change their personality over a short duration of time. And so in a review of actually over 200 studies, Roberts and colleagues found some very interesting findings. They found that in just 4 to 8 weeks of therapy or intervention, people did change dramatically, and they changed for a significant period of time. And they did do follow-up studies in a lot of these cases. They did find that these people had maintained their changes. And now obviously research studies can't go on forever, so we don't know if these people have still maintained these changes, but the thinking is that the changes were stable over time. Specific to these 200 studies, they found that emotional stability was one of the factors that could easily be changed within individuals. So whether or not you just want to have control over your emotions, or maybe you want to be happier going into 2021. This is a factor that seems to be very easily manipulated and very easily changed over a short duration of time. So things like breaking unwanted habits, rebuilding trust, overcoming addictions, increasing empathy, addressing mental health concerns, and just exploring strategies to do all of these things, this is where therapy comes into play. Therapy is really great in helping an individual first realize what's wrong, realize what needs to be changed, create a plan for that change, and finding and developing strategies that really help you make that change. And then finally, most therapy will also go into coming up with ways to predict triggers when they're going to happen and cope with those triggers so that all of the changes, all of the improvements that you've done are not lost in a matter of seconds. And so if any of that sounds like that is what you need going into 2021, I suggest seeking out therapy. And I know a lot of therapies online right now, which actually make it more accessible to a wider range of individuals. You can now participate in therapy from your home, which I think is really, really cool. So just another thing to consider. Okay, so I think that actually wraps up my video on whether or not people can change. The answer is that they can, but they can and they will only if first they want to, they intend to, and they try to. And so if all of those pieces come together, you can see big and lasting changes in the personalities of individuals. Now, change does not happen overnight. It's not going to happen at the strike of midnight, but if you make the intention to change in 2021, it is possible that by 2022, you might have changed. It's also important to note that change is a lot easier if it's supported. So if you see somebody struggling to maintain a change that they have expressed wanting to make, try to rekindle that determination in them by just supporting and providing positive and encouraging feedback. It's important to remember that change requires you to be patient with yourself and also to be patient with others. And I think if we do that, if we are patient with ourselves, patient with the ones around us, then I think that 2021 has the possibility of being a lot better than 2020 was. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on Monday.